Alexander.
Well, it's about time. I mean, I know you're slow, but I've been waiting out there forever.
Well, I was in another part of the house.
Yeah, I bet you were upstairs looking through all my dresses.
Well, it's a very big house, you know.
You don't have to tell me about this house, Nora. I came to see Mr. Whitney.
Is he expecting you?
Mr. Whitney's always expecting me.
Well, he certainly is expecting you this morning. He's not here.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm sure you won't mind if I look around the house.
Please, I already told you he's not here. That you have no right to go searching through this house.
Oh, yeah? Look, I think I'll just wait down here. Why don't you just go about your business? I'll be all right.
Well, if you'll excuse me for a moment.
Oh, I don't know who you are, but you certainly do look horrible.
Good morning. Is there something in particular you're looking for?
Well, I was just passing the time. Actually, I am here to see Mr. Whitney.
I believe Nora told you already that he isn't here.
Yes, she did say that, didn't she?
I'll have to ask you to leave, Raven.
Oh, Spencer, come on. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here to discuss a very important thing with Mr. Whitney.
Well, if you're here to discuss business, you can talk with me, Nora. Would you mind?
Oh, of course.
Now, Raven.
Miss Alexander?
As you wish. What was important you wanted to talk about?
Well, I have something that you might be very interested in, and it concerns a safety deposit key.
Campbell, where'd you pick up the name Pietro?
I made it up. It has significance only to me.
If I didn't think it was going to have significance to me, I wouldn't be asking you about it, now would I?
Am I getting what you call in this country the third degree? If this is the best you can do, you should go to Eden for lessons.
Listen, young man, let's get one thing straight right from the start. You're here to answer questions, not ask them. And these answers better be straight and clear, because if I don't like what I hear, you can kiss your immunity goodbye and say hello to a nice long prison sentence. So you can cut out all this smart-mouthing.
Yes, sir.
I don't agree with offering immunity to troublemakers like you, but Mr. Card here has talked me into it, so you can be thankful for that. Now, may we continue without any further nonsense?
I don't like cooperating with the people who murdered my friend, my beautiful Viva.
That was unfortunate, but that was not my problem. If you're going to conduct your life as a radical and a terrorist, I'm surprised you haven't realized before this that somebody might get hurt. Let me read off a list of some of the crimes you've been charged with in this town. Kidnapping, attempted murder, possession of illegal weapons.
Mr. Campbell, or do you prefer being called Pietro?
Pietro, please. Thank you.
Pietro, Jody Travis has given us a detailed account of the nearly 48 hours she spent in your custody. Frankly, much of her account was sympathetic towards you and your political cause.
Incredible, isn't it?
Not to me.
You want to sit right down?
I told her the truth, Mr. Carr. That's why she believed me.
Apparently she did, because her story was very convincing. You can thank her for the fact that we're willing to believe that these crimes you committed were motivated by political idealism.
That doesn't alter the fact that they're still crimes.
Thank you, Mr. Carr, but I want to put one point straight, please. These acts that I'm accused of were not prompted by idealism. They were prompted by reality. What's happening in my country is not fantasy, Mr. Carr. The corruption, the murders, the tortures are all very real. I'm not ashamed of what I've done. And I would do it all again if I could change this injustice in my country.
All right, look, let's talk about what's happening in your country and how it relates to certain activities right here in this town.
It doesn't matter to me. Whatever we do here, whatever Jody could try to do, it's too late for my father and my brothers.
Yes, we heard about them, and we're deeply sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. But too few people are too sorry too late. Why weren't they sorry before my family was slaughtered? Why weren't they sorry before all those thousands were killed as they tried to fight the injustice in my country?
Pietro, what can you tell us about a possible business connection between the government in Eden and the organized crime here in Monticello?
I can tell you that it's not just a possibility, the connection is real.
Do you have any proof that that connection exists?
The proof is in Eden. Why don't you go there? Talk to Dwight Endicott. He'll tell you everything. That is, if you can get in to see him. He lives in a large mansion surrounded by an electric fence with tripwires, armed guards, and dogs. Oh, yes, they know how to protect themselves. They have to.
Dwight Endicott, huh?
Yes, he'll tell you everything you want to know. But, Chief, I'm going to make it very easy for you. You won't have to make this long trip.
Just how can you do that?
Just ask Chad Sutherland what he knows. He's a nondescript painter here in Monticello, but he's something of a big shot in Eden. His father runs the country. Ask him. He has the whole story. He might even tell you the truth, although I doubt it.
We'll certainly try. Can you tell us anything about a man named Eddie Lorimer?
Lorimer? That name means nothing to me. I'm sorry.
I was hoping it would.
No, I'm sorry. It means nothing to me.
You've alluded to two names so far, Chad Sutherland and Dwight Endicott. But you don't offer us any proof. How do you expect us to believe what you say if you can't back it up with any facts?
Oh, Chief, please, just leave me alone. It doesn't matter anymore.
But you still want to help your country, don't you?
I can't help them. I've tried and I've failed. My whole family was destroyed. If there's a glimmer of hope left, it will only come from the one person left in the world who could do something, if only she wants to.
Jody?
Yeah?
Hi, we just wanted to check on you and see if there was anything you want.
No, nothing, thank you.
You okay?
Yeah, I guess so, except for being exhausted.
Well, no wonder you're exhausted. I bet you didn't sleep much last night.
No, I didn't.
Make you feel any better if you talk about it?
Well, I would if it would help Pietro in any way.
You're really concerned about him, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm concerned and I'm angry. Because I just think the whole thing is unfair. I mean, he's been driven to fight for what he believes in, a sense of what's right and a sense of honesty, and above all, by patriotism. And all of it has been in reprisal against his family. I mean, it's incredibly cruel.
It's true, then, what you told us about his father and his brothers having been killed.
Yeah, Chad checked with political sources over there, and he was the first one to find out. Pietro didn't even know about it. I mean, all he knew is, well, that they were put into prison, but that's it.
Chad have any details about their deaths?
Well, the story that Chad got was that members of Pietro's family were traitors, and that they were plotting an assassination against some political figure, something like that. Anyway, that's why they were sent to prison. Unfortunately, the three of them tried to escape, and they were killed in the process. I don't know how accurate the story is, but I do know the fact that they're dead is accurate. And I think that's what has me so upset.
Jody, honey, you were involved in a very volatile situation, which was perhaps more dangerous than you realized. And I think you should just be grateful that you came through it all unharmed. And there is no reason to remain emotionally attached to this situation any longer, or to suffer the pain of someone else when there is nothing more that you can do about it.
She's right, Jody. Look, we know that this has been tough on you, but now it's in the hands of the authorities. And for you, thank God, it's all over.
I know, look, I know that you were both concerned about me, about my safety and my happiness, but I can't just dismiss what's been happening as if it has no meaning. I mean, people have lost their lives fighting for what they believe in. There's Viva, Pietro's father and his brothers, and who knows how many other people fighting for their country.
It's their country, not yours.
I know. No, I don't know. I don't even think I know what I'm talking about anymore, but I do know what I feel.
Yes, but they made you feel like one
No,
of them.
that's not true. I'm not a radical or anything like that, but if I see somebody is drowning, I am not going to stand by and watch, and I am not going to stand by and watch all of this happen.
Come on in, it's open.
He did say come in, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. It's all right. It's customary to let yourself in when you come to see David Scarborough.
Trusting sort, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Just make yourselves comfortable. I'll be out in a minute.
Oh, I guess he's in the atrium.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Yes, among other things, he's an orchidologist.
Oh, I'm something of an orchid fancier myself.
Oh, really? Well, he's one of the leading authorities in the country. He's also a gourmet cook, and he's a karate expert.
Well, you warned me that he didn't quite fit the standard image of newspaper publisher, but then I got that impression as soon as I walked in the door.
He's really quite an interesting man, very colorful personality. He's the youngest of the Scarborough family and considered something of a rebel in the more conservative circles of Monticello.
Well, I certainly appreciate your arranging this introduction for me, Nancy.
Well, this introduction may be all you get out of it, Mr. Whitney.
Oh, please call me Sky. You can call me Mr. Whitney when I become the new publisher of the Monticello News.
Hello, hello.
David?
Nancy
Hello.
Carr, my, you are lovelier every time I see you. Absolutely orchidaceous.
Oh, David, I don't think I'll ever get accustomed to your kind of flattery. Thank you. I would like you to
No,
meet
don't tell me. I know. This is Schuyler Whitney. And I know not only because I was expecting you this morning, but because I've seen your picture in the newspaper so often. The Monticello News, that is. I never look at the other paper.
How do you do, sir?
Nice to meet you. Have a seat, please, Mr. Whitney.
Thank you.
Nancy.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep you waiting. It's really unforgivable of me, but I've been breeding all morning, and I couldn't tear myself away.
Well, I can certainly understand that.
Ah. No, do you know anything about orchids, Mr. Whitney?
Only when they reach the corsage stage, I'm afraid.
This is a Cattleya.
Lovely.
It is beautiful, isn't it? Just like the ideal woman. Beautiful, tough, and resilient. I've been working on hybrids this morning, and, well, you didn't come here to get a lecture on orchids, did you?
Perhaps not, but it's a fascinating subject, I'm sure.
Well, let me just tell you how delighted I am to meet the genuine Schuyler Whitney. I've been following the story of your resurrection with utter fascination. Of course, anything that Nancy Carr writes is my personal favorite part of the Monticello News.
Dear David, you
No?
do exaggerate.
Well, why not? No, I mean, there's so much in real life. Really, if you would do a novel, the novel form of the story of Schuyler Whitney, they'd send it back and they'd just say it was too incredible. It's unbelievable.
There were times when I felt that way myself.
Well, it must be a real relief for you now to be back in Monticello and to have resumed your life as a certified Whitney.
It is, indeed.
We Scarboroughs have known the Whitney family for many years, ever since your Aunt Geraldine married Gordon Whitney. It really is really quite a wonderful family, and I don't know what Monticello would do without it.
Thank you. Mr. Scarborough.
I know I'm rambling on, aren't I? And you are anxious to get to the point of your visit, right?
Yes, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Now, what can I do for you?
You can tell me the price you want for the Monticello News.
You're very direct, aren't you?
Whenever possible.
Mr. Whitney, this newspaper has been in our family for years, and it was the first paper in Monticello. What in heaven's name makes you think there's a price?
Well, if you'll forgive a horrible cliche, there's really very little in this world that doesn't have a price tag.
Well, I'm afraid that in this case you are wrong, Mr. Whitney. I couldn't never sell the Monticello News. It would be like giving away an old friend. But I'm curious, why are you so interested in getting a newspaper?
Well, I suppose you could call it a whim.
Well, I'm sorry. It's just one that I won't be able to satisfy. But that doesn't matter now. I'm just awfully glad to have you here and to enjoy the pleasure of your company. Could you stay for coffee, Nancy?
Oh, thank you, David.
Yes, I'd like that.
Well, fine, good. Now, I'll have to make this. I make it myself. I like to do things myself. It gives me a feeling of independence, so I'll be right back.
Well, I've never been given a negative answer so politely or painlessly.
I warned you he wouldn't accept your offer.
But I don't think I made it quite clear to Mr. Scarborough that when I said price, I didn't necessarily mean money.
I found it inside the pocket of the coat you gave me the other day.
I see. Well, why don't you just leave it with me, and I'll tell Mr. Whitney you returned it.
No, Spencer. You gave me that coat. And that includes everything that was in the pockets, which just happened to be 62 cents and the key.
I imagine that Mr. Whitney would overlook the 62 cents.
And the key also happened to have a number on it, 5012.
Miss Alexander, if what you're saying is true and what is in the box belongs to Mr. Whitney, you wouldn't want to try his patience again, would you? Like I said, why don't you just give the key to me and we'll forget the whole thing?
Not in a million years. You know, Spencer, I'm kind of hungry. I didn't have breakfast, so maybe you could go get me a little coffee with a little something to eat.
I'll tell the cook.
All right, Nora, you don't need to hang around like a Secret Service agent. I'm not going to walk off with the furniture.
Nothing like that occurred to me.
So tell me, how do you like your new job?
It's all right.
Yeah. Well, don't start feeling too triumphant just because I'm out of the house and you're in now, because I just might be back soon.
That wouldn't surprise me, nor would it make me unhappy. You know, I've always thought very highly of you. In fact, if I may say so, we're very much the same sort of person.
The comparison escapes me.
Mr. Whitney was very grateful to Spencer for helping him get his things back. If someone were to help you, would you be as grateful?
So how you doing today, Damian? You feeling better? Good. Glad to hear it. Loomis, you got an official reprimand for his carelessness. Damn near got a punch in the nose from Calvin. He seems to have redeemed himself a little bit, though, by arresting that fugitive, Pietro. Did not make Jody very happy, though. She seems to feel sorry for the man who kidnapped her, held a knife to her throat.
Oh, is it okay to come in?
Yeah, sure. I'm Dr. Gavin.
Coffee Johnson.
Coffee. Well, I'm sure that Damian would prefer your company to mine. Try not to let him talk, though. He's reduced to scribbling things on a pad right now. Check in later.
Hi. Oh, Damian, I feel just awful about what happened. I've been so worried about you, honestly. What did the doctors say? Will you be able to talk again? What about the other cop, the one that let this happen to you? You're not going to have to work with him again, are you? Oh, Calvin! You have Calvin back. Oh, I'm so glad. I was so worried when I heard about it. I think I would have died myself if I'd heard you'd been... You know. I have to go now. They said that I could only stay for a minute. I love you, you know?
Boy, am I glad to see you.
Worried about Pietro, aren't you?
Yeah.
He was bound to be caught sooner or later. No matter what kind of sympathy you have for his family, what he did was wrong and he has to pay for it.
I don't care how you look at it, Gavin. It's a mistake.
Anyway, I'm sure they won't treat him too badly.
Well, it doesn't really matter what his punishment is here. I mean, they can't hurt him any more than what the government's already done to his family.
You've really made up your mind about this, haven't you? You're convinced that Pietro's telling you the truth about this corrupt government in Eden.
It's a feeling. And yes, I do believe Pietro. And that's why I want to do something. And soon.
Any calls this morning, Spencer?
No calls of importance, but we did have an interesting visitor, a lady.
Oh?
Who also had an interesting piece of information.
All right, Spencer, I'm intrigued. Who and what?
Raven, she has a safety deposit box key. The key is numbered.
That simply means that there's more than one deposit box. What's so remarkable?
The number on her key is consecutive with the one that I found, which leads me to one conclusion. You need both keys to open one box. I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner, Sky. There's an institution here in town that has a two-key sort of arrangement for select clientele.
Then we simply have to get the other key away from Raven?
That's not going to be easy. And I know you can't use vinegar.
Are you suggesting honey?
Hello?
Hello, Raven. This is Sky.
Hello.
Well, Spencer just told me you stopped by this morning. I'm so sorry to have missed you.
Yeah, that's too bad.
And now, look, I have to be honest. I realize I haven't been very friendly of late, but I'd like a chance to make that up to you. Now, what do you say to lunch tomorrow?
Well, I think I'm going to have to check my appointment book and see if I'm free.